Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. When George Orwell wrote his book, Animal Farm, he based it on events that had taken place in the Soviet Union. But today, when you read it and you look at a country like Zimbabwe, you realize that what he was saying in that book has been repeated in Zimbabwe. And things are even worse. When you talk of the amendment, the Constitution Amendment number 3, it seeks to deny the ordinary people the vote on who becomes the president of the country. And the regime tells us it is doing this for Povo's own good. The comparison with what happened in Animal Farm cannot be denied. This is comparable to the point where the pigs decide that all the milk and apples will be reserved for the pigs. And all the other animals are going to be denied. And it is for the rest of the other animals' own good. We pigs do not like apples. Squealer tells them. But we have to eat them for the good of the farm. It's amazing. We have come to the point now where we are living in animal farming in Zimbabwe. How did we come to this? And more significantly, we will ever escape from this hellhole that we find ourselves in. For the sake of some of you who may not have read the book or may have forgotten what the book says, Animal Farm, here is a video clip giving a summary of that book.
Orwell. At first it sounds almost like a bedtime tale, a quiet farm, tired animals, and a dream of freedom. One night the animals gather in secret. They are exhausted from working for humans who take everything and give nothing back. A simple idea is born. What if animals ruled themselves? What if everyone was equal? Soon, rebellion erupts. The humans are chased away. The farm belongs to the animals now. There are rules painted on the wall, fair rules. No animal shall hurt another. No animal shall act like a human. And above all animals are equal. For a moment it works. The farm feels hopeful. The animals work harder than ever, not because they are forced to, but because they believe. Songs are sung. Dreams feel close. But slowly something changes. The pigs, clever, articulate, confident, begin to lead, then to decide, then to command. They say it's for everyone's good. They rewrite rules when no one is watching. They teach the others what to remember and what to forget. Promises turn into excuses. Equality turns into privilege. The pigs move into the farmhouse. They walk on 2 legs. And one day, the animals look from pig to human and from human to pig and can no longer tell the difference. The final rule on the wall now reads, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. And that is the quiet cruelty of Animal Farm. It isn't really about animals, it's about power, about how revolutions begin with hope and end when people stop questioning those who claim to lead them. The farm never changed owners, only the faces in control did. And that is what makes this story unforgettable.
Ben, welcome to the program.
Good day to you and good day to everybody. Thank you for joining us. You know, you posed a very good and interesting question. How did we get to this point as a country, as Zimbabwe? It took years and years of being naive, gullible to get us to this point. I mean, I've always spoke about at independence when an interview was done on the ordinary Zimbabweans in the street, and the interview asked, "What if Mugabe fails? Or what's the plan?" The answers that you got were, some were very confident and overconfident. No, he's not. He's never going to fail. Some decided to say, no, I don't want to think about that, you know. Now, if we were to pose the same question, and now it will be probably different because Mugabe is now out of the picture, but we know that Mugabe failed. What if Zanu PF failed? And we are seeing it now. That interview question is ringing in our minds at every turn, because we are now faced with a complete failure, and there seems to be no end to this nightmare. So we are basically the cause or the catalyst to this problem. We have fueled it by not knowing what to do, by not thinking for ourselves, by not answering that very question in 1980. What if Zanu PF fails? Because Zanu PF has actually failed.
Well, one of the interesting things that happened in Animal Farm is how the pigs kept changing the rules. In this next video clip, Chinamasa himself admits that to fulfill ED 2030 agenda, i.e. allow Mnangagwa to stay in office beyond 2028, would require a change of the constitution. And that will have to go through the normal parliamentary procedures and then go to the nation in the referendum. This point at this time, and this was, I think, 2024, was accepted by the Zanu PF leadership itself. That is the correct interpretation of the constitution that Zimbabwe has now. Here is Chinamasa speaking on that issue.
I will read the resolution which all provinces passed and which was also supported by the thematic committees which sat yesterday and today. And this resolution appears in all the thematic committees. And this is the resolution. That the President and First Secretary of Zanu PF, His Excellency, Comrade Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa's term of office as President of the Republic of Zimbabwe and First Secretary of Zanu PF be extended beyond 2028 to 2030. Is it legally possible? And the short answer I gave was that yes, it's legally possible. But listen, but to achieve it, we will need two separate constitutional amendments. One amendment to remove the presidential term that is fixed in the Constitution. The next amendment, constitutional amendment, should be to remove the disability that the Constitution places on His Excellency to serve beyond 2028. Listen, and the constitutional bills must be separate, not in one constitutional bill. And each constitutional bill must be followed by a referendum. So we are looking here at two constitutional amendment bills, going through all the motions, and also two separate referendum.
That is the correct interpretation of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. But since matters have moved on, as many people will be aware, the amendment, the Constitution of Zimbabwe, Amendment number 3, has now been submitted and is going, the countdown for the 90 days of public consultation have started. And it does not seek a referendum. They have rewritten the rules so that the referendum is no longer required. It is amazing. So we have come to what George Orwell was talking about there. All animals are equal. Some are more equal than others. In this case here, Zanu PF has decided after a few months that the referendum requirement is no longer required. And of course, that will sail through because the regime controls all the state's institutions. The constitutional law, the constitutional courts right now are being tutored on the new interpretation of that law, of the Constitution, so that a constitutional challenge will be told that what the government has done is lawful. The laws have been changed. We have now reached a point where all animals are equal. Some are more equal than others. In Zimbabwe, all Zimbabweans are equal. Since we are all human beings, we've now got to the point where some have the intellect of the human beings, while others have the intellect of nothing more than a garden slug. That is where we are as a nation. How did we come to this? And more pointedly, will we ever get out of it? That is a question that we have got to ask ourselves and be honest with ourselves.
For years, we have been letting Zanu PF have its way. In fact, at some occasions, we have been seen supporting their violation of the Constitution. For example, the 2017 coup. We all took part in it, and we all celebrated on the achievement of it. But little did we remember that this is a Zanu PF, and nothing good can come out of an illegitimate regime. One that for the past 45 years has shown without any doubt what they are capable of just to retain power. You know, if they had managed to convince the not so educated folk, we would have said, you know, let us wink an eye towards our failure. But you find that the most educated or the highly intellectuals were the ones that were actually running with Zanu PF and celebrating with Zanu PF when they ousted Mugabe. They were the ones that were celebrating the achievements of the MDC when MDC basically achieved nothing. So this comes back to the question, how did we get to this? The answer is very simple. We failed to answer in 1980, what if Mugabe fails? We are still failing to answer that question today. We don't have, and we never had, a plan. What if? What's next in case they fail? So, for me, I would put it very simple. We are our own worst nightmare. We created this situation. We gave the power to the pigs. And now the pigs are no longer equal to us. They now think that they have that divine right to rule. We created this. We created the monster, and we gave the monster so much power. Thank you.
Well, we've got to be honest with ourselves. In the last 46 years, we have had the chance to end the Zanu PF dictatorship. That must be stated in no uncertain terms. The opposition, the MDC-CCC, had the golden opportunity to implement the democratic reforms during the 2008 to 2013 GNU. They sold out. Some people have been arguing that is water under the bridge. Let's move on. Yes, it is water under the bridge. But like I stated before, if you are a human being with the intellect of a human being, then you would also know that before you move on, you've got to ask yourself, what lessons have we learned from that mistake? Because that is in the nature of human beings. They are a creature of reason. If you have not learned anything from the past, you are likely to repeat it. And this is exactly one of the reasons why we are in this mess. The people of Zimbabwe have failed to learn the lesson from MDC CCC leaders' failure to implement even one token reform during the GNU when they had the golden chance to do so. And they've kept electing them as their champions to implement the reforms. And yet, what has actually happened since the GNU debacle, the MDC CCC leaders have been participating in flawed elections, knowing fully well that the process is flawed, knowing fully well that by participating they are giving Zanu PF legitimacy. They've done it anyway, out of greed. I've often played this video to remind people of Chamisa's lie that he had plugged the vote rigging loopholes before the 2023 elections. He even evokes the name of God.
Makorokoto Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu anomira kana denga raronga plan. Denga raronga plan, denga harifoiri. Plan ya Mwari haifoiri. Ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing for our inauguration. Let's start preparing for our celebration.
Chamisa was lying. He conned people to participate in flawed elections, giving this same Zanu PF regime that we are stuck with now legitimacy. We are where we are, I agree. We have got Amendment 20, the third amendment seeking to change the Constitution. What shall we do? Well, if you are serious about getting out of this mess, you would also be serious about who is going to help us get out of this mess. Electing the same corrupt, incompetent liars and conmen who have got us into this mess in the first place, and following them is not going to solve anything. I have said on this platform, and I'll say it again, this amendment number 3, yes, is seeking to drag us even deeper into this failed tyrannical dictatorship. But we should not be looking at just what that amendment is seeking to undermine. We should be looking at the totality, the whole picture. Stopping Mnangagwa extending his rule beyond 2028 is not going to end this Zanu PF dictatorship. We should be looking at how are we going to end this Zanu PF dictatorship. There is a world of difference there. We made the same mistake in 2017 when we focused on getting Mugabe out. When clearly it was clear that we'll get Mugabe out only to replace him with Mnangagwa. Swap one dictator for another. What we should have been focusing on is ending the Zanu PF dictatorship itself. Are we going to repeat the same thing here? By focusing on amendment number 3, instead of looking at the bigger picture of implementing the democratic reforms to ensure free, fair, and credible elections, we are just repeating the same foolishness of 2017. So to answer the last question, will we ever get out of this hell on earth that we've landed ourselves, or Zanu PF has landed us into? At the present moment, I don't think so. Until we start putting on our thinking caps and thinking as human beings, we are not getting out of this mess. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.